To draw stress. Don't we have somebody that does the minutes now?
That's for select board. Unless they take them off of the film.
Yeah, somebody does that.
Fantastic.
It should be possible
Yeah.
with
Why don't we
technology to
assume
have verbal
Right.
conversation transmitted to computer and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voice to
and then
text.
somebody clean it up.
Yeah. Why don't we not have a
Investigate
minutes
that.
taker today, and by
Ask
default, if somebody will show me how to get that video off the town's website, I will type up some minutes from that.
I'm pretty sure he'll.
Nice guy.
But why don't you check with Alex and see if it can't be just automatic?
Oh, we will do that, but
Something.
maybe not for tonight. That sounds like
Okay.
it could be.
Well, since we're not posted legally, we don't need minutes.
Yeah.
You're saved.
Okay, my understanding is that we're posted legally unless somebody objects.
Okay.
And now that we've pointed that out on the record, I'm sure somebody
No,
will.
that's all right. That's all right. So we're not taking
This,
any votes.
I did not put the location of this meeting on the agenda within 48 hours this meeting. However, it was posted within 24 hours. And as long as nobody contests it, I think we're going to be just fine. And if not, we're not maybe voting on anything anyway. The purpose of this meeting is informational to bring everybody up to speed in terms of where the project is, and we can certainly proceed with that without any fear of wasting our time. So the number 2 on the agenda is to go around and just introduce ourselves and quickly tell us who we are and some related experience that might relate to this project, and that's it. So.
Sure,
Kayla,
I'll
go
start.
ahead.
So I'm Kayla Lubriel. I'm the Conservation Commission staff / land use coordinator. So I work for Planning Board, Zoning Board, and CPA Committee. So what I can bring to the table is just some background on what the Conservation Commission permitting process would look like and help guide you through those regulations in that permitting process. Yeah.
I'm John LaPere. I'm a Hadley resident. I don't have anything official. I don't have a job or anything that's in this. I'm just very interested in all kinds of efficiency in terms of heat and electricity. I have PV on my house. I have for years and years. Mike got me started in that. And I do have a big technical background in electric and electronics and energy, so I can, I'll help wherever I can. I'll have time. I'm retired now.
Shardul Parmar. I'm on the Finance Committee, and I have PV at my house, and we have a business. Our hotel has PV on our roof, and also an engineer by education. So.
Great. And you're on the Finance Committee as well?
Yeah.
Great. And my name is Michael Doctor. Met most of you. I'm a retired farmer in Hadley, as well as a small business owner. My current focus is I'm a part owner in Mi Tierra Tortillas, which is a small food manufacturer based in Springfield. But my related professional experience is through a company that I'm a principal of called Rural Aggregators in New England, which is a very solar adjacent business that aggregated SRECs and RECs for 600 or 700 residences, businesses, commercial, some municipal. And we aggregated RECs and sold them to utilities on behalf of owners of solar and wind power. And what that did was it exposed me to a lot of the players across the state in the solar industry and a lot of the jargon and technical speak that I've been educated on. And so I think my role is going to be to act as a translator for a lot of the complexities and technical language in the solar industry and helping people kind of understand that in plain English. So that's about it. I also have yeah, so that's good enough.
I'm Jane Nevin-Smith. I'm on the select board. I'm also involved actively in the senior center. I was chair of the senior center building committee, and I'm overseeing the solar on the roof, which is starting next month.
Nice. Yeehaw.
Once they get their permit, then we're good to go. We got one permit. We need the second one, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Really glad to see that.
Yeah.
Cover all the roofs.
That's right.
Well, so one of our delays has been, originally when the building was built, we only looked at putting solar on the south because nobody was thinking, and then COVID happened. And so we have a chase, everything's set to run a panel, down to the panel, but whatever's in the panel is not big enough, because that was for 56 panels, we're gonna have 197.
Oh,
So,
they just need more.
covering, so we just need a bigger thing in the electric box.
Yep.
Great. So, it's really exciting. I think that this is a great group of people to get some work done. Here comes Chris.
Hey,
How are you?
good, how are you?
Good.
Oh, good.
You're right in time. You just introduced one another,
Awesome.
and if you want to do that, tell us who you are and your experience a little bit.
Sure. I'm Chris Hamill. I work at PV² Solar. So I work in residential solar mostly. And I live on Bay Road, right next to Michael.
Okay.
And yeah, that's basically it.
Should we go around again? He knows you.
Yeah, let's just,
I'm Kayla,
Hey,
Conservation Commission.
awesome.
I'm John LaPere, and I have solar also and deep interest in this. Not a lot of job related,
Gotcha.
electrical background.
Shardul Parmar. I think we've dealt with each other, but PV² customer.
Nice.
So they did the
that's how
hotel.
he introduced himself.
PV². That's on my card. Yeah. So I think I work with Josh.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Josh, and used to be Carlos. I think Carlos or some.
Pablo?
Gomez. I forget.
Oh, Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel. I remember. I used to work with him before.
Oh, great. He was such a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
You know Michael.
Michael.
Yes.
I'm Jane Nevin-Smith. I'm on the select board, and I'm actively involved in the senior center and am overseeing the solar being put on the roof here.
Oh, great. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
So, the next item on the agenda, maybe you've seen, is to review the assignment that we have from the select board. And this is our formal instructions from the select board that was voted on by the select board. And basically the task force shall assess and make recommendations to the select board regarding the following as they pertain to the siting of Hadley Landfill Solar Project. We're going to determine the optimum size of the project based on site suitability and Conservation Commission review. Determine the financial viability of the project with help from folks outside of this committee, hopefully. And comparison of ownership versus lease options. In other words, does Hadley own this project, or do they lease the property to a solar development company? And there are pros and cons. Usually the person who owns it makes most of the profit. There may be some other reasons that we'll uncover through this process that make a lease option make more sense. Identify all state and federal incentives that the project will be eligible for. There are several several state subsidies and the SMART program, and there's RECs, and there's all these different possible sources of income which we'll be looking at and trying to figure out what we can access. And on the federal level, today still, there is a substantial tax credit of 30% for any kind of alternative energy investment, and another 10%, bringing it to 40% for projects that are sited on landfills, I believe. So that is possibly subject to change, but the conventional wisdom among most who are looking at the Trump administration and what they're likely to do There is a huge amount of the money through the Inflation Reduction Act that has been designated already, and of the $18 billion that's been committed, something like 8/10 of it is committed to red states, and the Republican senators impacted by that have already said they don't want to repeal this part of the legislation. So that's enough to keep us going forward. If we lost that 40%, this project would not make too much sense unless something else dropped out of the sky.
Now, how would we recognize that? Because we're a not-for-profit. Meaning, I understand from
Excellent
a
question.
for-profit side. I know you had mentioned somewhere there's a mechanism where those credits can be sold in some type of a market.
That's
Or-
Rex. That's Rex.
Rex is so. I'm sorry. Those credits can be turned into direct cash
Yeah.
of some kind.
What previously municipalities were required or necessitated to do in this situation was to actually have a for-profit developer come in and develop a project so that they could get that tax credit. Because a nonprofit or a municipality does not have a tax liability, it doesn't pay any taxes. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, there are provisions, and this might be subject to a Trump change, but there are definitely provisions that allow municipalities and nonprofits that do not have tax liabilities to simply get cashed out within a year of expenditure. So the IRS will wire the money to the entity.
So it's a direct reimbursement from the IRS.
Yes.
Direct pay credit or something.
Yes.
Well, it's not a credit because we don't have any obligations.
I mean,
But
I guess
it's a cash
IRS
payment.
in tax
It's cash-
speak, I guess it's
Right.
a credit.
It's a cash payment.
It's a
It's
credit.
equivalent to a credit to an entity that's not
Right.
doesn't have a tax liability.
Right. Okay.
So.
I have a question on that. Then that would just go straight to the town of Hadley?
Yes.
And then how do we benefit as people who live here?
Well, it would pay down the debt. So we would incur some type of expense to install it. So that would raise our costs. We'd probably incur and borrow to go and do it, and then there would be a principal write-down of the
But
borrowing.
as a taxpayer, ultimately it will keep your taxes down because it will be another source of income for the town.
Got it. Thanks.
The preliminary numbers that we've done on this indicate about a $2 million profit to the town over the life of the project. That is a very conservative estimate. It assumes only a 30% tax credit instead of a 40%, which is more likely to be the situation. I did that budget and pro forma with the help of a number of experts that helped us put it together. We will need to hire somebody who has more experience than the group that did this to come in and has their butt on the line, so to speak, to say this is going to work. And so that's one of the things that we will do as a committee is find a grant to hire some technical expertise who can do that on our behalf.
Because really, we would need that to be confirmed before we can move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be the builder.
What's that?
That would be the
It's
builder.
usually the actual installer on smaller systems. I think on a system this size, it would behoove the town to actually hire somebody, an independent entity that's going to help because
To do the paperwork.
Well, so it's required for any projects in the town over 1.5 million to have an owner's project manager.
for good reason.
Yep.
Especially here because when we send this out to bid as a town, my understanding is you're required absolutely to take the lowest bidder, and sometimes that
You can say there's evidence that this lowest bidder has some problems that we're not interested in having, but you might get challenged by
Right.
in court.
Right.
But you can say, hey, the last time we referred somebody from you, we found out that the basement leaks all the way, even though you told us it was a seal, or whatever.
Right.
And so we're not interested in working with you.
Yeah. So, and that's the kind of thing that a project manager is going to
Yeah,
help us do.
OPMs know
because
that
They're going to have
in
the
their sleep.
expertise to kind of,
I loved the OPM we had on the senior center.
Okay. Okay, so I think this would probably be somebody with a lot of solar design experience. So, if we can, I think we got through number 3. The last thing on Roman numeral 3 is identify and secure any grant sources available to be used for the hiring of professional services needed to determine all these other things that we're doing above. So a lot of what we're going to be doing as a committee is sort of ushering through all of these activities and making sure that they're moving forward and making sure the right people are in place to help us evaluate them.
Now who's in charge of the landfill?
That's a
town
good
owns it.
question.
We own it, but do we have, is it
Yeah.
DPW or is it?
No, the DPW does not, the town owns it.
Okay.
Well, I suppose the DPW
I'll
does.
write- That's under number 5.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, that's fine. And it's it's excellent point. So let's just stay in order though. Are there any questions about our role and those 4 or 5 or 6 things that we've been charged to do before we move on? Okay. Don't hesitate to, I'm talking a lot because everybody's getting up to speed, but please don't hesitate to interrupt and interject and question. So the current status of the project. So the select board and at the whole town meeting both authorized the town to proceed with hiring a solar design associates to submit a proposal with a one-line drawing of a proposed solar facility on the landfill to Eversource. And the purpose of that is to get the ball rolling and get in the queue and establish from Eversource, they will respond in a few months, what the grid's capacity is to handle a project of this size. And so in a few months, Eversource is going to come back to us and our consultant and say, it turns out the grid doesn't have the capacity to do this because it's a big project, and here are the 4 things that we need to do to bring the grid up to speed in order to accommodate a project of this size. And by the way, there are these other 3 or 4 projects in Hadley right now that are in your tranche of projects right now. And those grid improvements are necessary for all 4 of your projects. So you're going to split all that prorated based on the size of your project or whatever. And then we'll have a better idea what those costs are as Eversource gets back to us. And the good news is that Matt Waldrop, who's on this committee and couldn't come today, works for Eversource. So we're going to hope for an excellent relationship with them, which is not necessarily the case.
Yeah,
Atypical.
right. That's what I've found out too. People
But-
really struggle with this. It's an opaque.
But that is a fabulous resource for us to have on this
Yes.
committee, as far as I can.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, anyway, so,
When we're gonna hear that?
well,
Hear back from them?
the contract with Solar Design Associates, who is preparing this application, just got signed on Friday. Took quite a bit of back and forth to get it through legal counsel, and you guys are way more familiar with it than I am. but-
It's a municipality, nothing goes quickly.
Yep, $12,000 versus $6 million project. I'm sure it
Same
takes about
time.
the same amount of time. So now we've done it once. Anyway, so they got an executed contract on Friday, so the next step is for them to come to a site visit, and I've sent a query to them a few hours ago asking them to propose.
So I've been watching that because it's on another feed that I'm on. And he was going to come out today, possibly.
Oh, okay. Can you get us on that feed?
I'll try.
Yeah.
I got a question. So the Solar Design Associates is already preparing the application.
To
But
Eversource.
part of our Roman numeral number 3 is figuring out the optimum size of project based on site suitability.
Yes.
So, but they're preparing a one line and an application for Eversource for a specific system size.
Yes.
and then we'd have to do it again if we're going to change the size.
Right.
So are we already there? Or?
Yeah, well, let's go to Roman numeral 5.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. We're desperate for it.
I know.
No, it was hard for me to sequence this thing.
No, that's
It really
fine.
didn't make sense, and I
Okay.
apologize.
That's good.
But, so essentially, the permitting process will require us to have two simultaneous things being done. One is with the Conservation Commission and one is with DEP. With the Conservation Commission, that, Kayla has been very helpful in kind of giving us an informal assessment that indicates that anything we could probably build up to 150 feet of the Connecticut River in order to meet the requirements. It would be really good if we could now, fairly soon, go before Concom in an informal capacity and actually get a formal, informal assessment so that we can give that information to Solar Design. And right now, they've been told 150 feet, but it would really be nice to go before the board, as you sort of suggested. And
Yeah.
is that,
It's always helpful to have something concrete to show them.
yeah. So if you are willing to kind of spearhead that and try to make that happen, and
Sure.
that would be great. So the other permitting process, which in terms of you were asking who has control over this, it's the DEP. And we need what's called a PCPU, which is a post-closure permitted use, which we apply for. And they tell us, yes, you can put a solar facility on the landfill, but it has to look like this, and you can't put any holes in the cap, the landfill's liner or cap, and which will mean that it's going to be a ballast system, which means it'll be weighted panels so that they don't fly away into the river.
There are lots of those out there.
Yes, there are many that sounds like a fairly simple process, but that again is going to require us, unless anybody has any PCPU experience around this table, it's going to require us to bring in a consultant and an engineer who can actually, as you know, with government entities, they don't determine anything. They want an engineer to come in and say, this is going to be okay, and then they go, okay. So that's...
Now, one of the concerns that was brought up by somebody was about kind of with that permission, as you pointed out, there's going to be restrictions, and is there going to be I guess obligations for us in terms of maintaining for emergency services if something happens? That's and how that's going, or is that pretty much still in line with what we currently do anyway? In terms of there's a problem on site, getting the access, in terms of getting safely, because obviously you have powered something that's powered and having a procedure and so on and so forth, so that I guess for mitigation of anything causing damage.
That's a good question. I mean, in the financial pro forma that we have done and any future ones that we do, there's a line item for maintenance of the facility. There's a line item for a fence. There's already a fence around it, but the fence might need to be upgraded. I don't know.
And one would assume that one would separate the transfer station part of the area from where the solar is going to be with another fence.
Yeah.
You can squeeze
I
it
think
down a little
already
bit.
It could certainly get
Yeah.
closer to the road.
Yeah.
I think it already is too. I think there is an internal fencing, but no?
Not really.
No.
Okay. You can just go take a walk up on the
Yeah,
road.
absolutely.
I haven't done that yet.
We're going to do it soon.
Wednesday until 6 and Saturday till 4.
Had a balloon land out there not too long ago.
Uh,
There's no fence.
And the other question I had for the other thing with this is that there's going to be a possibly an end of life expense that when the array finally has kind of the panels have kind of expired, have reduced useful life to them, and then we're probably going to have to either replace them or dispose of them. There's going to be, either way, there's going to be obviously a cost
You
associated.
built that in too, didn't
We
you?
did get an estimate on removal and disposal of the panels, and that's
Built in.
That's baked in.
Yeah, it was either baked in or we have that actual number.
Because really, it's almost like a reserve account that we're probably going to have to take whatever the proceeds out that
Yep.
we're receiving, so that we have kind of that built into us. So at the end of the day, when the time comes, we have, and we should keep realistically, we should keep some type of a reserve account anyway. If one panel goes bad, inverters, well, I know they go bad. You know, their lifespan is not. It doesn't
Major
coincide.
hailstorm.
Huh?
Major hailstorm.
Well, I'm guessing it's going to be insured. That's probably insurance.
It's in there.
Yeah, the insurance is probably covering that. But inverters, things. Those are kind of like consumables that we also have to kind of put money aside for. That obviously is going to impact the financial. I guess the net of everything. But we should. I think what we've seen with other facilities in town, that we don't want to have sticker shock when that time comes, because we haven't put money aside
And
for
we're
it.
not putting money aside, and we need to do that. Would the finance committee please pay attention to that?
I am here.
Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
The select board totally agrees that, you know, when we built the new buildings, we said we're going to put aside maintenance fund money. It's been 5 years, zip.
Well, I've only been on.
I know, I'm just giving you.
It hasn't been 12 months.
I'm giving you the history.
Well, I mean, with the rec program, you know, this system will incur some kind of income, which could then go towards.
Well, it has to.
Yeah.
That income.
Unlike a center like this, which doesn't have an income.
Right, but it shouldn't. I think the goal is that it's not taking out from the levy. We're not taking money out of the
Right.
tax levy. We're taking
We're gonna borrow
money.
it separately.
Yes, exactly. So
Well, the money should be tracked and put in, there should be a reserve account. You're absolutely-
well, there's going to be like I'm guessing it's an enterprise fund. Or
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say it's probably going to be.
It's a new concept.
Yeah,
We haven't done this.
It's
so.
going to be some type of income fund.
Yes.
That's like an enterprise fund that we're going to be able to go and put that money aside. You know, part of it is going to be used for paying off obviously the debt, and then there's going to be a portion that's going to be used for town finances
Right. Right.
under
And
control.
part of
there.
that town finance should be the reserve fund.
Well, that has to be. Yeah, the
That
reserve
should
is
come before
first.
the town finance.
Yeah, that's number one, really. You know, it's probably
Well, it's
probably
gonna come
debt.
after debt.
After debt. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but our borrowing rate is quite good, so.
But it's something that I think if we are going to go and move forward with this, we're going to have some operating document that kind of dictates what was just said, is that debt, you know, after debt, the money goes into reserves. It doesn't get.
Or a percentage, just like in your savings account.
Yeah,
your paycheck.
either a percentage, or at least, you know, there's going to be good years and bad years. So but we should maintain some desired solvency level of that fund.
Yes, absolutely. Please.
I think it's a great idea to kind of formalize that.
I'm also
Yeah,
part of
and
the
that's
finance
something-
committee.
so that should be
Sorry,
one
we
of-
didn't know.
So that should be one of the things that we should identify under 3.
Sorry if we're skipping around here, but so the Solar Design Associates contract, does that include projected costs of system maintenance or anything like that?
No, it's a single line drawing at this point in time.
It's really a cheap contract, it's $12,000.
Gotcha. And you mentioned we might need some kind of project manager in between. Is that what they're actually operating as?
They not at this point.
Gotcha.
They've not in any way been hired to that. They've been hired to do this application to Eversource.
And that's
They are fully capable of being a project manager. They are fully capable of, you know, providing the financial analysis. They would be one of the companies that we would strongly consider to play that role down the line. They put the first solar panels on the Jimmy Carter White House a long time ago.
Wow.
So they got some history.
Just a little.
They've been doing it for a while.
Okay.
They really are perceived to be, you know, some of the more qualified in the state at that level.
And you had mentioned something about getting somebody that understood the PCPU
Yeah,
permit.
that's somebody else.
And I know Hatfield I just saw somewhere there was some headline, either they're installing it or they're in the process of approval or something where they have their landfill and they're putting solar on top of that. I saw it, I don't know if it was in the
Yes, sir.
Gazette but that was just, I want to say this week. It was just in some publication.
Cool. Well, we can certainly follow their lead and figure out how they attach
How they
that.
did it,
That's a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
They need to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly, yeah. We can definitely be more efficient and kind of, we might even want to bring them in, somebody from there, bring them in to at least educate us.
Yeah.
If they have kind of a team
Yeah.
leader.
Are they doing it the same way, that is, did they have a contractor go in and an owner?
I have no idea. I think
So
I think-
many of them are that way, which I hope
I
that we
think
don't.
we would have
go
heard
that
about it. I mean, it would have been, because what we're proposing is fairly unique because these rules just changed under Biden
Mhm.
and enabled municipalities to take ownership. But let's find out. It's a
Yep.
great idea.
Yeah, it's right next door, so.
Yep. It used to be here.
Right.
Right.
Very true. And just as a backup to your question about repairs and maintenance, I mean, you know, as you know, I think as Chris can point out, the inverters are like the main moving part on this. They're the ones that generate heat.
Yeah.
They're the ones that, and so the pro forma that we have right now replaces them out after 7 years, and there's money in there to do that, but it doesn't mean it gets actually, doesn't mean it can go to some general fund in the town spends it on, you know, it means we need to.
Well, those are all things that we have to go, in the financial analysis, when we go and look at all the really reserves and operating expenses, and most of that stuff it's going to be contracted out, so that, and whoever, and also as part of our negotiation, when we do choose a vendor, you know, we should look at ones that have either a longer maintenance period, where they give you, you know, we'll once you install it, instead of 1 year covered maintenance, you know, that's kind of warranty, you get, we might be able to negotiate something longer, and so that, because again, the more that we can get on the front end, that would just help us with the financial side of things, you know, whether it's replacement or maintenance in general, you know, things that need to get done.
Also, I was wondering, I understood that we have storage in this proposal too, right?
We're going to be required to provide battery storage for a project of.
That's gonna be a big hitter too, right up there
Yeah.
with the inverters. For
Oh, yeah.
whatever chemistry we use, it's gonna be
I have a question about that for environmental reasons on the landfill, because that's going to be the, you know, the most complex and potentially like toxic aspect of this project. And what are the environmental restrictions around that?
Especially being so close to the river.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I know that this public safety has their requirements for battery storage already written
Oh,
out.
Great.
So that would be easy to get access to. But they are strict. It will also be where we have the most difficulty with the population making a vote go through to make this happen.
Yeah, I foresee that also.
It's mandatory?
over a certain, I think 2 megs or something like that, which we're over. Whatever it is, we're way over. I don't
Gotcha.
remember.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was only a 1 meg system.
I mean, I would argue that while batteries are not perfect, they are a necessary part of the green future that is being developed. Because the sun don't shine all the time, and the wind don't blow all the time, and we need to be able to store that in the dump, which is already not exactly a pristine environmental tract of land. And
Which
the
is
fa-
probably why they're giving the incentive.
And the fact that it's far away from any residence or business makes it a pretty good location to actually do battery storage if we have to do it, which we agree.
At what capacity are we going to use that storage? Is it for like peak demand issues, or is the utility going to be in charge of it, or is it for only at night?
I think the state sets that with their incentives, and it's not a part of the law I'm that familiar with, but I believe they require you to be able to take a certain percentage to make it available for peak, and the state will tell us in exchange for giving us an adder for our SMART program, they will specify what those batteries are going to do. That's my understanding.
And is it based on percentage of production? How do they determine the size of that?
Yeah.
Is there a mandated minimum that we have to meet?
Yes, they're going to tell us. I
You
don't know,
don't
it's
know.
30, 50, 60, whatever it is. You've got to be able to pull that and then resupply the grid with it, basically.
For a certain number of hours, right?
Yeah.
I think that side of things is by far going to be the most complicated.
Yes.
Just because there's going to be, I guess, concerns about when these things aren't foolproof. I think there was a pretty bad fire, I think, just last week in California. It's one of the largest installations in the country, outside of LA, went up, and it was
That's with lithium batteries.
yeah.
I'm going to push very strongly for not using lithium.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are there alternatives?
Yeah,
Well, you got
for big municipal systems.
iron phosphate, and you have some of these other.
Vanadium, yeah.
This is something that the planning board talked about in depth when they were talking about the battery storage bylaw in terms of safety.
And also the fire department's going to
Yeah.
have to have, especially the fire chief, because that stuff is extremely, once it does start combusting and creating smoke and everything else, you're talking about high level of
Yeah,
toxicity.
yeah.
And even though it doesn't have to be adjacent to housing, but obviously upwind, downwind, crosswind, whoever.
By the river.
By the river.
By my farmland.
By your farmland.
And-
Right there.
And it's also the fallout happening.
Mhm.
It's up in smoke.
Yeah.
It's coming down somewhere.
Heavy metals, yeah.
Educate us a little bit about the vanadium option. I don't really know.
They're
about
flow batteries. They use tanks. So you have a little, think of it almost like an engine. The battery sits up here, and there's tanks. One is, say, positive and one from negative, and they pump the electrolyte up through a thing that makes the power. That either takes power in, or does both. It takes power in, and then it charges these tanks as fluid, and then when you're using it, they keep pumping, and now you can take power out.
And the fluid is not flammable?
It's not flammable, no, it's a
At all?
liquid. No, not at all, it's a liquid. It's a electrolyte.
Something in solution, water solution.
Yeah.
And
So
it doesn't turn into a gas at any point?
No, it's not gas at any point.
Huh.
but I'm guessing that energy density is probably,
Yeah, they're much bigger physically,
yeah,
but we don't really care about that so much.
Right.
because we have a lot of space.
And they have some temperature restraints, but then the lithium do too. Can't use them below.
What is their cycle? Meaning their cycle count is probably higher than lithium.
Lots, yeah. Lithium's good for like 6 to 8 years, and these are good for like 20 to 25.
Match the
So there's a
cows.
cost there. They have an upfront cost that's greater than lithium, but then they're also completely recyclable. The electrolyte doesn't decompose over time. So if you're done with that system, you don't want it anymore, you can just sell that. Sell the liquid to someone else that can just keep using it.
There's a temperature restriction. Does that mean we'd have to build a building around it?
Yeah, they come inside of like storage,
Tanks.
Shipping
Yeah.
containers.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But will we need to have some kind of like heated space for them? That would be.
It doesn't look like it, no.
Okay.
It looks like they have, I've got some wires out to people that haven't responded to me. But it looks like as long as it doesn't get down below like -30.
Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
cool.
And they're going to produce a little heat anyway inside that.
That's what
building.
saves you, right?
Yeah.
You put a little insulation inside those containers.
And what about in the other direction?
The other direction, they're good to just over 100 degrees. So we need to provide some sort of cooling if it goes over that for peak capacity. if you're
So
willing
can you
to.
slow them down so you're not using peak capacity when you're having really high temperatures?
Right, right. So you'd be charging them during the heat of the day and discharging them during the cool of the evening. So that's
You're discharging over a
Right.
lot, probably 8, 9 hours, depending on
right.
in terms of really the daytime, nighttime.
So what I hear is, or read, is that the electric companies are gonna have to increase their grids, given all the bitcoins and AI that's going on and all the power that they're using. They can't possibly survive on what we're currently producing.
Yeah.
The
Especially-
AI is already almost using what the whole US residential grid is using.
Let alone everybody driving electric cars and wanting to charge them at night.
So there'll be a need.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next.
We move on to number 6. All very, very fascinating and helpful, thank you. Number 6,
So it sounds like Hatfield is the contact for
yeah,
A.
yeah, that's the first stop.
And they might have B for us also as an option.
Yep, I think it's more, what we're looking for at this point is raising some money from the planning commission or whoever, that there are pots of money within the state to hire some of these professional services to do the PCPU. We'll find out whether Hatfield paid for it themselves or whether they hired a consultant. So we need somebody we'd like to get a grant to hire some financial analysis and ultimately the project management, although that's getting ahead of ourselves with
Yeah.
this project. We need
Yeah.
to get further along in the approval process before we hire a project manager, obviously. So it's 5:15, and are there other things we should be discussing, or?
I'd like to just push that one a little bit farther, the alternative to lithiums. It's probably too early for that maybe, but it's about to get very volatile, the prices of all these storage systems, right? Because we've got taxes on imports from, I guess we can't call them taxes there.
Tariffs.
Yeah.
They're customs and duties, that's the official
Right,
term.
right.
The what?
The official term for the treasury is customs and duties.
Customs and
So
duties.
we have that lurking out there for most of the lithium supply right now is from
Right.
China. So it's about to get really volatile.
What about vanadium? Where does that come from?
Hopefully Brazil.
Uh-huh.
That's a friendly.
For now.
For now.
It's a volatile world. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
All of a
you
sudden.
can't
We
count on
might want to
anything.
watch them do a little dance or something like that.
Yeah.
First.
Right.
All right, so what do we need to do before our next meeting?
Well, Kayla's going to get us onto the Concom to do it.
Our next meeting's in 1 week, so I'm assuming we
That's
won't have
too
anything
soon.
for that. So then after that would be March, second Tuesday of March. I'm not sure what the date is, but we can get onto that agenda.
Okay.
Do you think that you'll have the application to Eversource by then?
Well, no, because
Okay.
really, it's a horse and a cart thing here. They really need, in order to do the application, we really need to know what Concom is going to say in terms of setbacks so that they
Mhm.
can actually draw a picture of the system. At this point, they've been told 150 feet. If you're really, really confident about that, and then we can wait till March. Otherwise, we may need to try to do some more scratching around, and because we don't want Solar Design Associates to do this work and then us come back and say, well, it's actually 160 feet. Or
I will say this project is, there's a provision in the Wetlands Protection Act that allows for redevelop or lower standards for redevelopment projects in degraded areas, which this is exactly what they're talking about when they define degraded areas. It's old landfills, junk yards, that sort of thing. So the restrictions that apply to the riverfront area are going to be less strict in this circumstance because it's an old landfill. So 150 feet, that should be easy. If you're just building within degraded area, I mean, you'll still have to get permitted for it, but it really won't be much of a problem. As long as you're not within like 100 or less feet of the river, that's when it gets a little tricky, but over 100 feet.
So one of the issues is maximizing the size of the display, because 50 feet by whatever it is a lot of panels.
Yeah.
So I think what Michael's asking is how can we find out more precisely what what conservation will say to us before we set these folks out to make the actual drawing and the application?
I don't have the numbers on me, but I think that with redevelopment in degraded areas, you're allowed to basically construct within that degraded area or 10% of the site. You don't quote me on that, but whichever number is greater. If you're just constructing within degraded area, you don't have to. Before I say anything, let me double check.
Could you double check?
Yeah.
And since all this is happening simultaneously, and also kind of straw poll query some of the folks on the committee and just make sure that they're on
How
board
busy
with
is
it?
your agenda next week?
It's not too busy.
Maybe we should try and get on it,
Okay.
because we don't have anything, but we know what we need to have so we can start the other half working, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be useful.
Sure.
Great.
Certainly need all the land we can get. We're still, it's like 7 or 8 acres there, that chunk.
So-
Big system.
So we need to at least have with us, when we go here, a copy of the property lines with the
Okay.
river.
Also, how far out does the dike go from the river?
I don't know what you're at. How deep, how wide is it?
Yeah, like so.
If
If you're
I'm the
looking
river and
horizontally,
you're the
yeah,
landfill,
yeah.
the width of the dike.
With the dike.
It does
Water
this.
zone, yeah, it's
It
like-
does
right.
this.
Right, but so when we're looking at a plan, they're looking at like the horizontal distance between the river and the.
Well, we could probably
Landfill.
make some eyeballs about that.
So even though there is a dike there and it's
40
it's not as
feet.
connected as it would normally be.
Wait,
That's how they're
wait,
doing it.
wait,
40 feet.
wait. There's a company that's doing the dike stuff.
Mhm.
Mm.
They will have those numbers
Sure
for
they
us.
will. Can you get that for us?
What about in a flood year or something? Isn't it going to be 20 feet then?
It doesn't really go.
The
doesn't
flood
change
doesn't
that
come
much.
down river, it comes up river.
But it doesn't impact the horizontal distance of the dike?
Well, sure, because it's higher.
Right. So how do you account for that?
They're probably gonna.
Mean
come
low
up to
tide,
mean.
I'm sorry.
Nice.
Well, you probably have like 100-year flood.
It's not in the floodplain because of the dike.
It's not?
No, it's not mapped in the floodplain.
Nice.
Yeah.
Even with the
there's
Vermont flood stuff?
The what?
Wow.
What happens in Hadley,
Stays in Hadley?
good luck, is when the river floods, it does not come over the dike. The
Right.
river comes back up the tributaries and all the drainage ditches.
Right, right.
So that's,
If they're free and clear, those drainage ditches.
even if they're not, they're lower than the rest of the
That's right,
land.
that's right.
So
Gotcha.
Okay, so
I'm
you're
writing
gonna
down.
get us
Get
that
dike
actual
info.
distance, and then you're gonna try to get us on the agenda. That's wonderful.
And that's Tuesday at 6, right?
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah.
I will be. I have to go to Washington D.C. to take care of my mother for the next 2.5 weeks, so I won't be there. But hopefully,
Planning board meet next Tuesday? No, you're on this week.
I'm not on
Planning
planning
board
board.
met last night.
Last
They just
night.
met last night.
Okay.
finance.
Hey, actually, we're on the agenda, but for something else.
Would you? Who would be able to?
I
meet
will go, but
that meeting?
somebody else
I
should come
can't.
with me.
For the planning board?
No, for
No,
the
for
Conservation.
conservation.
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, 6:30 here.
It's also we have a Zoom link for it. It's hybrid.
I will attend that,
Okay.
Okay.
but it would be
I'd love
great.
to come with you, but I cannot. I'm gonna be south.
Okay,
I'm leaving right now.
that's
I
right.
was trying to find the article. I can't find it now about Hatfield, so maybe I know. Maybe
Did you dream it?
Maybe I dreamed it. I thought I could swear it was something with Hatfield. Did they have? They must have an old landfill.
They do.
They do. I saw
Might have been
something.
Deerfield? No?
Maybe it was somewhere. It's one of the. I could swear I saw some headline. I was reading it and something else came up. So I was trying to send it to you, but I didn't.
Greenfield's got one too, right? I don't know if it's on the dome.
And Amherst has one. Oh,
Amherst is not on a river.
Yeah. And Amherst is a dirty word in Hadley.
I had one last question about the info that you sent us with the solar. Just I saw the DC to AC ratio
Yeah.
seemed really high. I don't know if that's because of the commercial size, but it
I think
seemed
that's typical.
the two to
2 to 1, I think, is not high.
I mean I'm a residential solar guy, and it's 1.2 is your really what you're aiming for, and 2 is like it would be a lot of loss basically for the power that you're generating. So just calling it out because that's what I'm here for, I guess. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's because of the amount of time that you can collect power in there. It's so little. But you still need to be able to supply power for your storage system. So you need a large field to be able to, through those few hours that you can really pound the watts into the batteries to get a full charge on the battery system.
Right, but then if the battery going to be DC or AC coupled?
I hope it's DC.
Okay,
coupled.
in case it would make more sense, but if it's AC.
DC.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Right.
And then you can avoid the energy loss through that process.
Right.
But if it's not, then you're just producing power that can't go anywhere.
Right, and that was my question about, one question I had about the smart system is because I think that if you go by the smart guidelines, it makes it more difficult to connect your inverters directly into the grid and use the overage in the summer. So hopefully our engineering guys will figure that out, because it'd be good to have all the power we can in the winter without wasting it in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What is the impediment to the SMART program? Because that's definitely a major source of income here.
Yep, because I'll have to go back and read that. I flagged that, but I don't remember the details on it. Something about having to... I don't remember.
Okay, sorry.
Are there...
But it was something about the amount of power that you could... whether or not you're AC or DC coupled, I think. Yeah.
For the battery system
Yeah,
specifically.
I think they would prefer you to be AC coupled, so that you can use your panels directly onto the grid through your inverters. But it makes more sense for us,
To always go through the battery.
efficiency-wise, yeah. So you have to trade
Figure that
off
out.
excess capacity that gets wasted or inverting back into the batteries.
So that's energy we wouldn't be getting credits for,
Yeah,
because it's, okay,
it's not used. You only get credit for what you
produce, what you
gets
transfer.
metered.
Yeah,
into
it gets transferred.
And this is information that the Solar Design Associate should be able to provide us with, right?
Yeah, that's where
Giving
they
us
live.
options.
Right.
Right.
That's their job.
Right. But right now, they're just working on, is a system of this size even possible as
Right.
things stand?
Get the permitting.
They're going to have to make this determination in order to do their first drawings. So
Right. Gotcha.
I'm assuming they're gonna weigh this information, and they know. Yeah. So, but let's be great to be able to
talk with them.
have one of you guys talking to them directly. You're out of my league at this point. I'm not an engineer.
So when are you back?
I'll be back the 21st.
All right, so our meeting should be after that.
Yep. Yeah, we need to schedule our next meeting.
Please not on Wednesday,
Yeah,
first or
that was,
third.
so and let's do that here rather than through a poll, because not everybody can open that document, and that's why we.
After the 21st, but soon. So,
And I want to respect everybody's time, and we don't necessarily have to meet every month. I just think that until we get things moving along, we should, and then
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
just.
so
Definitely.
Wednesday night on the 26th is not a select board night, and I would be happy to meet then.
We're talking March here, right?
No, we're talking February 26th.
Oh, February. 3 weeks.
Well, let's see where we are with, we're gonna try and get this information from conservation and get ready, and
Does this time work for everybody?
this works 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I might, or I'm not sure what our finance committee schedule. I thought we meet on Tuesdays, but I always get, because we have a meeting today, joint one
With the select board.
with the select
That
board.
often happens.
Yeah, so that's why 4:30 is a good time.
All right, so 4:30 on the,
Okay, if I do it by Zoom?
Yeah, yeah. Our requirement is that as long as a majority of people are here, then we can get a quorum, so we can always have a few people on Zoom. Is 4:30 good for you?
Yeah, that works for me.
Good. Okay, so February 26th at 4:30.
all right?
Would anybody like to move that we adjourn this meeting?
So-
Motion to.
Second?
Yeah.
And great. Great, thank you all so much.